Forge greatness, this is what you need. Next level marketplace with the NFT. Music, podcasts, movies, and more. Crypto games, take take it to the next level for sure. Or system, or system. If you bout the NFT, this is what you're missing. Or system, or system. If you bout the NFT, this is what you're missing. To my movie makers and musicians, time to level up. Bring your content, even all my game developers. We got movie streaming, music streaming, so you wanna be in the mix. This ain't no big production company. Over 25,000 or users, yes indeed. Only charging 2.3% sales fee. Own all your music, all your games, own your future. Set your own terms. This is how you do it. You need or system, or system. If you buy the NFT, this is what you're missing. Or system, or system. If you buy the NFT, this is what you're missing. Let's go. Forge greatness. Woo.
The OR token is not a security. The OR token is not a stock. It is a video game token and is used for in-game purchases in OR-supported websites, video games, and the ORForge NFT marketplace. No ownership guarantees a percentage of any ownership of OR Systems Inc., any video games, content, media productions, or other, until options are extended. OR Systems Inc. is a privately owned and operated organization that utilizes blockchain technologies and provides real-world value to the intrinsic video game currency. As such, please ensure you approach the OR token at your own discretion. No one involved in this video is a financial advisor.
I can hear you.
So I can hear everyone.
And Armando, what was everyone saying?
Everyone was saying
They were
that,
saying we were not going to make it to episode 65.
and
here
guess
we
what?
are
We're at 66. What's up, Warriors? As you can see again, Jimmy isn't here. I'm at the controls. Something was wrong with the sound because this is like my fourth time doing it. I'm at 66. I hit this is like my percentage-wise is low with me getting this right on the first try, but I think we're here. Episode 66. We got Gabby back. I'm so thrilled to see what 1 year has been like being the CEO over there. Pretty
And if I'm not
nuts.
mistaken, when we had her on originally, she was actually at a wedding party. And
I think so. She was wearing.
she was gracious. Yep,
wearing a
she was
dress.
gracious enough to lead
Yeah.
the. Yeah, so,
I
if I'm not
know.
mistaken. That took some dedication. Thank you, Gabby. This is why you made it to your second round. So
That's
he is now
true.
part of a very small exclusive club called the Twofer Club.
The twofer,
Any
two-timer.
excuse to hop on a podcast with you, Eric, or live stream with you.
Yes, it's
People
just for
jump
you,
at that
Eric, not for
opportunity.
us. But thank you, Warriors. It's episode 66. Really appreciate you guys who's been with us from the beginning. We're here. Episode 66. I mean, 66 weeks we've been just doing the Warrior Hour, but we were here a couple months before that too. So again, thank you. A lot is coming. You've seen a lot. A lot's coming, and I'm excited. That's all. That's all I know. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to ruin
We
anything, but
we are chugging along, man. Making great strides, great progress. Had a quick call today with somebody that's going to help us with some of our longer term funding. So it's promising in that regard as well. We've launched the Indiegogo campaign. Hopefully get some additional runway opportunity out of that to fully extend the developmental cycle of the game. We're making great progress. The development's coming along smoothly with the game. It looks amazing. Can't wait to share some of the content when we're ready to push that forward. So all things are pointed in the upward direction, man. Kicking ass, taking names. Pardon the language. Kicking butt, taking
Whoa,
names.
whoa, family show.
It is a family
Did we just
show.
get
I
fined?
know better.
We got fined by the FCC for that one, Armando.
I think
Did we
so.
just get fined for the swearing?
We're gonna have to redo the. I knew I should have left you guys on mute.
We'll get we'll get throttled by YouTube. Sorry.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm gonna mention now the graphics look incredible. It's a whole nother level, which I'm enjoying. I love watching the updates on the game. So super cool stuff.
Yeah,
Well, no.
really, really exciting.
Indiegogo. We're gonna mention that quite a few
Indiegogo.
times tonight.
And some blog content coming out on withthem.co. Go over there, check that out, register, sign up, and that way we can add you to the email distro where you'll start getting some of the updates that don't make the cut on the show and things of that nature.
No.
Cool.
So
Speaking of
register to donate, Veterans Mental Health, Indiegogo, give $1, man. Do something so you can just be a part of our experience. We appreciate everybody who signs up to tag along on it for a little bit of our journey.
Great. Speaking of graphics, Eric, you were showing us a shirt earlier that I was very impressed with, yet I can't see it. Why don't you point your camera? You don't have to stand.
No, I gotta stand. Gotta do it.
Look at that.
Classically trained, my friend.
Very nice. Very nice.
And I actually remember it was probably I was in 4th grade, I believe. It was right after it was my communion money, I believe, is what I used
Ooh.
to buy my first Nintendo system. I believe it came with gyro mic, if you remember that game.
Oh, that thing! I never got that thing with the
No,
damn
it never
robots.
worked. No,
Never worked.
I agree. It came free with, I believe, Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and gyro mic.
Yes.
Those are my 3 games, man. That's how old I am, by the way.
The Mario Brothers Duck Hunt combo disc was
Oh yeah,
kept my house running for quite a while. we didn't get a whole lot of games. That's a lot of brothers sisters, man. We didn't get a whole lot of toys, but was appreciative of what we got.
That's
It was like
incredible,
$50 a pop still at that time, and it was like
yeah.
when you figured out how much data was actually on that disc, you're like, wait, this thing was $50? It's like
Yeah.
a 400 meg game.
And it's
Yep.
still like $50 for the same content. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
No.
You've been getting juiced.
I remember, and you guys should remember this. I know, Lucas, if you had a Nintendo system, and I'm assuming you did too, when Legend of Zelda came out, I just remember I was super jazzed about it. Came in the gold cartridge. That, to me, at that time, because I don't remember there being a game where you could actually stop it, and I think it kept you at wherever you were at
Yep.
in the game, you know? And it was one of those, like Mario Brothers, you can kind of play for an hour and then whatever, but Legend of Zelda was definitely an investment of time. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had an older sister, and her and I had like fisticuffs all the time because she would come in and write over the limited amount of saved content that you could have on some of those games. So her and I would just go at it,
Oh, no.
which was just sibling
Did
rivalry.
it save it? Where did it save it?
Actually, that's something serious, Lucas. I take that serious, man. If I had a sister do that to me, I'd be throwing I'd be getting mad too. I'd be throwing a fit myself.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. No, but Zelda. Oh, jeez. What was the other game?
Remember all the Easter eggs that were hidden in that Zelda
Yep.
game too, man?
Oh yeah.
That was really fun to like
There
kind of
were.
like poke around and yeah. And share that content at school with your Pizos, man.
I was
Always
just
enjoyed
happy when
that.
the sword had like extra when
Yep.
when it got longer. And you're like, oh wow, I
Yep.
could shoot further.
Yeah.
And it
Or
wasn't
the
the wooden
flames.
sword. It wasn't
Yep.
the wooden sword.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
Some of the
what was the magazine? Nintendo Power.
Oh, Nintendo Power, yes.
Nintendo Power. Yeah.
Oh my
They used to
gosh,
have all
you're
the
bringing
cool,
it back.
like you were saying, Lucas. They would
It
give
had
you.
the walkthrough. It had the
Yeah.
walkthrough.
And I used to try to act like, when at school, you don't want anyone knowing that's how you found out how to beat
You
a game.
used
was
that
reading
Cliff
the
Notes,
magazine. I'm like,
didn't you?
I don't have a subscription. I don't know what you're talking about.
I did ask my parents to spend $5 on the magazine.
Again, I thought I was super cool because I had the code to Contra, and then all of a sudden, I was like, everyone had. My mom knew it. I'm like, okay, well, it was not as exclusive as I had hoped or thought, but still, I still
everybody had the members only jacket.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Now Lucas is going way back now.
No,
Yeah.
Oh, that's
there are
funny,
too many
man.
members
Yeah.
in that facility.
Can't believe you
We're,
just brought up members only jackets when everyone had
we're,
one. That's funny.
we're trying to bring some of those Easter eggs into with them. So keep an eye out for that stuff,
Ooh,
and we might even publish a cheat guide. Who knows?
ooh,
That'd be
a
awesome. Well,
walkthrough booklet
let's
with
Yeah.
get in
them
contact
Power
with the editor.
magazine.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
With them
Oh yeah.
Power magazine.
We
No,
got all
that's good.
the socials teed up for with them too. So I'll share those in the comments. Post them out. That's where some of that content's going to be shifting to out of this and over to there, so we can kind of manage that separately. So
Cool.
sign up for those distro lists, the email, register, donate $1 to Indiegogo, so you can follow the content, and that way we can bring the Warrior Hour back to Warrior Hour business, and with them we'll kind of pick up and take on a life of its own. It's over on Twitch. It's got some YouTube functional opportunities as well. So just stay tuned and like, share, and uh, follow all the content.
Cool.
A mouthful.
Oh no. Well, you know what? How about we go take a break so you can water that throat down, and we'll be back shortly with our guest.
All right.
And we are back again.
Hey.
Yes. All right. So, oh man, let's see. Let me make sure Gabby is. She does have the link. Cool. So we'll just wait for her to hop on here. Man, Jimmy, this I don't appreciate Jimmy enough with all the stuff he does in the background. I think everything's going well. And then I just, but I do miss when sometimes when we have those technical hiccups. Oh my God, I don't know what's going on.
All that really tells me is like we need dedicated engineering support, man. I was helping set up some of the OBS for the other channels, and it
Hmm.
is how he can like participate in the discussion and still do all that stuff is amazing.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah. Well,
nothing short.
let's not give him too much credit now. He's gonna get a big head and an ego, and then we
I
don't
mean,
need
he
that.
didn't believe in Revenge of the Jedi, so
Yeah, exactly. Come on, man. Like he's not
he's one
that
of
smart.
those. He probably thinks the Earth is flat too.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Jimmy, we love you, man. You know I'm only kidding, man. Yeah, Jimmy's
Uh,
always been a really great multitasker. You know.
what are you trying to
So
say?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, let's not take it too far. I don't want, again, he'll start getting egotistical. He'll start asking for a pay raise. We don't need all that.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we do miss you, buddy.
Do we? I mean, it's
I,
going smooth so far, I
I,
think.
I've had a good run with him, man. So
Uh,
I can
I
stand
mean,
one day away.
what has
You
it been
know,
with you guys? Maybe 40 years, 45 years?
I met Jimmy when I was 14,
Oh, okay,
13
so
or
30,
14.
30 years. Only 30. You can
Yeah,
find
that's
someone else.
long enough.
You still got another 40 years, so you can
Oh
find a
man,
good
all right.
person.
I'm
It's a
gonna
good
admit
friend. It's
something.
a good friendship.
Yeah,
You're tearing up over there, remembering everything, aren't you?
yeah, of course. You know what? I feel bad because I don't know if I liked Jimmy at first, but he had a car back then. So it was like, man, I was
Mm.
14. I didn't have a license. I'm like, man, let's buddy up with him.
So this
Whether
guy,
it's cool.
he's got long hair. I got long hair. We have
Yeah,
something in common. Dude, you
yeah.
want to like wash hair and blow dry it together? Sure, man. Why don't you hop in my car and let's go write music.
Oh man. Oh, and he drove a blue Gremlin, just so you know, man. And we were.
A
No,
blue?
I'm
What's
kidding.
a gremlin?
From Wayne's World. That's the car he had. That little blue.
No way,
That little blue sedan. Yeah, the Gremlins.
dude. That's probably worth tens of thousands of dollars these days. if
And
you
those
had
things
that.
were like the worst back then. They were not considered.
They were unsafe.
Yeah, somebody was joking around about they thought the bumpers were made of flint because they'd catch fire if they got into an accident.
They had the gas tank so far back in the wheelbase that it would usually bust out into flames if anybody
Oh,
ran into it.
That's not good.
No.
Oh man,
That's great.
look! Armando's going to be looking up Gremlins tonight.
I am. No, I watched Wayne's World. I know that. I know that.
That was the car. That was the car they had.
That was the car.
With the
Okay.
flames.
Jimmy says it's a blue station wagon, not a blue gremlin.
I actually think he did have a station wagon. I'm not sure why. But that's what he had. Anyway,
Gotcha.
Totally rock a wagon, man.
I wish they'd bring him back.
Every time I go to Europe, that's what I rent. It's a wagon because I'm usually hauling around a bunch of army crap.
Yeah.
I
That's
need the
awesome.
space in the back.
I think they're called. I think they're called Avants these days. They're not called wagons. They're called Avants. AVANT.
Family truckster.
Like a
That's what I call
Volvo Avant, something like that. Good Volvo. My dad had a Pontiac Bonneville station wagon. It was
Okay,
brown.
all
It was
right.
brown. Love that thing.
A strong family car back in the 80s.
Oh gosh, that was great.
Yeah, it is. You have the wood paneling.
Bonneville. Oh,
Yeah.
it had the wood paneling. It was brown wood paneling. Through my
Yeah.
Huffy, my red and yellow Huffy back there. He took me to the park.
Ah. All right, since we're getting nostalgic about the 80s, I had a Predator bike, if you remember those.
Like
Predator, it was probably
Terminator, Predator kind
any
of thing?
BMX enthusiasts out there that don't.
Oh, BMX. Oh no, I never got a BMX.
But
I had
yeah, it was a
Huffy.
Predator bike, but it was like a step down from a Mongoose, I believe.
Oh,
or Diamond.
I always wanted that.
I never
I
got a
used to-
Mongoose.
I used to love riding bikes. I had a GT1, a Mach 1R.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Man, look at this, Lucas, man.
You guys had the good. I had a Huffy.
And then I got a Sigma. My favorite bike was a Sigma. It had the discs over the wheels when you were a kid. Man, I
Yeah.
thought I was just like too legit to quit back in the day.
Man, too much. Ah, I miss the hour. I miss.
We're
the
showing
hour.
our age, FYI.
Yeah, I wish. I unfortunately wasn't. I missed last week. Heard that was fun. But I was in doing a little spring break action, doing some tourist stuff with the kids in the city.
That's
So,
good. Take a break.
A little break. But I was on a plane during the hour. I'm like, oh, I was wondering if I could join. Ah, that wasn't getting good connectivity. I was gonna try to hop in there.
We ran about 30 minutes, and as soon as we realized we couldn't get the guest in, we just decided to put a fork in it.
Gotcha. And speaking of guests, where is Miss Gabby? She accepted.
Let me...
Gabrielle, Miss Gabby Kusz.
Well, since this
if
is Gabby,
you can
man,
hear
she might
us,
be.
if you can hear us, we're waiting for you. Should have the updated link. Let's hope she does. But anyway.
She's in.
Anyway.
Let's see here.
Let's see, we got some house cleaning stuff.
Oh, here she is. You get ready. She
Alright.
heard me. Look at that profile pic. Let's let her in. Oh man.
Hey.
How's it going?
Whoa, Gabby.
I know now that you start recording right away, so now I'm prepared.
Totally
I have
okay.
your last one.
Oh, there it
Thank
is.
you.
All right.
That's the Gabby we know.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think
We
there's
were-
probably wine in your coffee mug if I had to guess, gentlemen.
Wow.
How are we doing?
Well, that,
Great.
Fun,
that's what we were
hasn't it?
gonna. That's
It
what we were
has.
gonna ask you. How have things been since the last time you've been on? It's been a bit. It's been a hot
How was the
second.
wedding, actually? You were dedicated and loyal enough to just hop off the wedding for an hour and join us. It was hopefully a fun night.
I always have a fun night with you guys. We have some great conversations. We have a lot of battle stories to share, so that's exciting and fun. And happy to give you sort of an update on what the state of the industry is, what we're up to, on a serious note, but also just to spread some of the love for all of the people in the industry who are really heads down, working hard, trying to work through this and get through to the other side. So lots of love to people out there, small, medium businesses in particular.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
You got to have some good stuff to share. It's been about a year, I think. So,
How's
anyway.
it? Feels like it's ghosted by, but yeah, it really has been about a year. Yeah, things are going good. I mean, from our side, we've talked a lot about some of the work that I've had to do in other countries, dealing with like embattled industries, helping to support constructive, positive pathways for growth, economic development, jobs, very exciting things. We have continued to grow as an organization. We about doubled our membership since the last time we spoke. So that was exciting. We've welcomed on board some amazing firms, firms that I think don't get enough attention about some of the really awesome value and utility that they bring. So that's been, I think, one of the more exciting things. We've built out a lot of our lobbying and advocacy presence, really advocating for responsible innovation, balanced regulation that supports the growth of the industry and also, cuts out all the things we really hate, which are things like illicit behaviors, terrorism financing, money laundering, all these social ills too. And so I think it's been a wild ride, but an extremely impactful one. And it's been a really beautiful kind of a journey to where we are now. And, just looking forward to continuing that positive growth, helping to get the message out there about who we are and what we do. And, trying to bring as many amazing, good firms on board who are looking for support during this time. So.
Absolutely. So, just kind of poking around in your LinkedIn, I notice you're coming up on your anniversary for being the chief executive at the Global Digital Assets. And one of the questions I had was what would be one of the most rewarding aspects of filling that role up to this point? And conversely, what's one of the more challenging aspects that you might have not given enough credence initially when you took the position?
Sure. So I think the thing that's been some of the most rewarding pieces has been some of the work we do with our Policy Fellows program. So here we have a lot of people who are underrepresented groups, female, minority. It is informal because, that's how I roll sometimes. But we bring together a lot of young people who want to get jobs in this space, give them training, provide them with support on their resumes. And in exchange, they provide us with technical assistance, community development, outreach, everything from business development all the way up through like writing policy papers and responses and watching those people take on and move into roles successfully employed in the industry, helping to contribute to really good, high quality growth and development. That has been one of the things that I didn't initially anticipate or plan for and just kind of naturally evolved. And it has been one of the things that I've really enjoyed the most. So I think that was one.
The networking within this domain is it's second to none. It's so inspiring to see how everybody uplifts everybody along their journey, and it's really neat to be a part of some of those experiences. You very rarely have a bad conversation when you connect with somebody new in this industry. Everybody's always about helping everybody develop and grow and mature and really just kind of check all the boxes, man. It's really it's quite pleasing. I'm fairly impressed.
So for me, like, I think that's probably been the most like surprising / rewarding piece of what I've done.
Mhm.
I think the more difficult pieces are, again, like we kind of talked about this last time, like my background working in emerging conflict, post-conflict countries, dealing with very embattled industries, having to deal with low levels of resources, capacity, understanding. So working in like these VUCA environments, I like always use these like international development terms. And I think people think I'm kind of crazy, but it's like volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. Like if I could have foreseen that all of my many skills in those types of environments would be not only so needed, but necessary in order to get to where we are today. I never saw that coming. And I think, you know, that's been something that I've had to like really adjust, reorient, reposition, and then mobilize. So like every morning, like I have a young man who's supporting me in operations. I have a woman that is supporting me in marketing. Every morning we do just like we would in some of these emerging contexts or conflict countries. It's reflect, reorient, reposition, mobilize. And it's like every morning we have to kind of take a new set of eyes. What is it that's going on? How do we make it through to the next 24 hours? How do we help people keep going? And I think that's the piece that has been, I think, one of the more challenging pieces that I didn't see. But again, because I'm kind of an eternal optimist and I try to stay positive, I think it's one of the things that I have been uniquely suited for and have been, again, somewhat pleasantly surprised. I can't say entirely surprised, or entirely pleasantly surprised, I should say, to be able to fill that role so well. And so I think that's another piece that has just been, so teaching, you know, state level associations, you know, there's just, so everybody, newsflash, there's lots of state level legislation that's moving right now. It could potentially be very detrimental depending on how it is crafted. We've started to gather state level associations, supporting them in building capacity, learning how to, you know, develop rapid response approaches, how to mobilize their community, how to communicate and awareness build, and then how to basically taking the experience, because I'm dealing with this here in the state of Illinois, in addition to some of the things at the federal level. So creating almost like a toolkit so that they can work constructively with their regulators and with their legislators, because legislation is moving at the state level. It may not be ideal, but that means that there is movement and there's a chance to give people, especially small businesses, clarity right now. And, you know, legal and regulatory reform, it's like water. If it doesn't find exactly a space up, it trickles down. And so, you know, a lot of what you're seeing is a failure at a federal level to resolve issues means that a lot of this burden and pressure gets put on state level regulators, and they're doing the best they can with limited resources. But that, I think, means that we need to adjust, adapt, reorient, you know, and that's where being able to pull together people at a state level, support them in standing up credible associations that can be vigilant, can mobilize, and can actually professionally respond is kind of now my side gig, I suppose you could say. Some people drive Ubers. I volunteer mobilizing state level associations. That's why
Yeah.
God, these are going to be some really amusing quotes again, right? We had some great ones from last time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's tricky because all of your stakeholder engagement is individualized per state. So Texas wants something different than Ohio wants something different. So you have to have a pretty broad understanding of how to approach some of those frameworks.
Not a one size fits all kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what we're finding is that, you know, there is a certain degree of like empathy that's needed, right? Like I always say, you know, it is, you know, trust, you know, it is empathy, it's humanity, it is intelligence, it's sternness. Like those are the things that make a leader, right? And so, you know, from this standpoint, I think helping to identify leaders at the state level, helping to support them feel confident and comfortable with stepping into that role, giving them sometimes it's just like motivational support, but other times it's sharing lessons learned from what we're seeing in our own state as well as at the federal level so that they are able to actually fulfill that role successfully and then contribute, because their goal, like again, nobody does digital assets for digital assets. Nobody does blockchain for blockchain. You do it because you're trying to make things better. Okay. And we talk about it like national security, geopolitical positioning, economic growth and job creation, and those many social outcomes. So access to finance for small businesses, and then financial inclusion, unbanked, underbanked, right? So if those are your impacts that you want to have, how are you going to position yourself? What do you need to do today to get yourself able to achieve those overarching goals? And so that's where like helping people with tracking, tracing, we like in international development, like for the US government, for USAID, we would call it like monitoring and evaluation, and then program development and design, right? So teaching people how to do that so that they're not just throwing ideas and things left, right, and center, but there is a strategic, methodical, intentional use of resources with an expected outcome and impact. So it's really fun. I feel like my old bosses at the World Bank and USAID would be really proud. They would be like, yay, intentional program design. So yeah.
Man, that's awesome. What are three major things you want to achieve, or what would be three things you want to get done this year and the next year with GDA?
Yeah, sure. No,
three boxes you want to check and make sure you're.
So I think from our side, one is to continue to bring on board high quality member firms. That's kind of the first and biggest focus that we have. To try to help as many people as we can to support, firms that really want to grow and want to be able to be resilient, globally competitive, and make it to the other side over the next couple months. That's a lot of what we focus on, especially with small firms. That's one big piece. We just rolled out this past week our core principles. I think the next box we're ticking is incorporating those core principles into our onboarding program and supporting our wellness checks with existing members, meaning that we're not just checking for the typical pieces like we AML KYC. We're going to check your AML KYC, sign our code of conduct, attest to it, chief legal officer signs off. We need to know your UBOs, your governance structure, your source of funds, all that kind of fun stuff. But then I think especially in the wake of FTX, as we've seen some of the challenges to the industry, our focus has really been about cutting through the chaos, helping to identify and define quality. The next step is assess quality. So that's where, defining quality, core principles, assessing quality, embedding that into an onboarding process and a continuous process of evaluation. And then I think finally, helping to communicate that to the markets and to regulators so that they understand who we are, what we do, why we're different, and why the firms that have aligned with us should be seen as white hat actors in this space. And so I think that that's sort of that second box. And then I think third is really, trying to focus on this idea of creating legal or legislative clarity. So, working very heavily, we hope, knock on wood, to bring forward legislation this year that focuses on self-regulation, as well as ensuring that we focus on the global DCA's 4 building blocks. So looking at taxonomy, stablecoin payment token, custody, and then that SRO component. And I think, there is so much good that exists in this industry. And sometimes it is hard when there are so many, news articles and misinformation, disinformation, to be able to cut through that. And really what that takes is all of the people on the call and in the audience, just taking one step at a time, assessing quality, helping to define that quality and helping to really, at least support the market, regulators, and others have awareness about what quality is and why it's important.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we have to pause real quick for a brief intermission, and we can pick it back up after we get on the other side of this commercial break.
Great.
Perfect.
I'll do a drink call.
There you go.
As game developers, OR System wanted to integrate NFT and crypto for large-scale, next-generation gaming. The OR System is a next-generation blockchain community that creates value for content creators, collectors, and studios. OR System makes blockchain simple and accessible to all players, creating a complete gaming ecosystem. Load and integrate NFT into your game to allow players to earn, collect, and take them from one game to another. Learn more at orsystem.com. OR Systems. forging the future and changing the game.
We're back, and we're back.
All right.
Cool. And actually, Gabby, on that FTX. So when that FTX story broke, we all wanted to get you back on the show for some hot takes, right? So now that you had time to digest what happened with FTX, what do you think about the whole situation now that you've had that time to consume that information?
Sure. So, after the collapse of FTX kind of came forward, the global DCA was actually very active in calling out, what it saw as bad behavior, mobilizing a steering committee to address some of what we already saw, both from the bankruptcy filings and then just from general practices as some of the core areas of weakness that needed to be addressed. And that's where, the steering committee that we assembled started to focus on core principles. And so that was, former CFTC chair Christian Carlo, former Commissioner Don Stump, Maggie Sklar, who is a senior policy advisor to the CFTC, and then also senior level over at the Federal Reserve Bank, Amit Sharma, CEO of Inclusive, who worked at US Treasury. I mean, I can go on, but we got together what we believed are, and not to be like a 1990s throwback, but a dream team of people to come together who were balanced in terms of their political background, balanced in terms of their affiliation with different agencies, balanced in terms of gender, ethnicity, experience, and whether they were industry or, former public sector.
Yeah.
And so brought them together, helped to mobilize and coordinate their contributions into a coherent set of core principles that we believed addressed many of the challenges and weaknesses that we saw in the industry, and then really helped to highlight what needs to happen in terms of defining quality. And what you'll notice is that in those core principles, we focus very heavily on centralized digital asset enterprises, as a first step, and really focusing on what are the things that need to be adjusted. And so from our standpoint, those include things like enterprise risk management, it's internal controls and governance, it is liquidity, it is accounting and bookkeeping, and it is your concept of independent audit. And are those kind of core components that when you bring them together, if they had been in place and required, you wouldn't have been able to see a firm like FTX grow to the size it was and likely not be able to operate. And so those are some of the pieces that I think when we talk about, some of what's the difference between the global DCA and other groups. Ours this year, we had always had this mantra of responsible innovation and action. And I think this year, that mantra really came to life through the, at least saying of advocacy is good, but action is a lot better. And what it's going to take now that you've had an industry in quite honestly, deep crisis, there's no amount of marketing dollars or lobbying dollars or campaign contributions that's going to dig you out of this. You actually have to do the hard work, focus on reinstilling credibility, defining and then adhering to requirements that put you on a ladder for quality, and then helping to communicate and educate the public sector and the private sector about why that's important, who they should engage with, and how they need to act in order to build the industry out responsibly. And so I think those are the things that have been really kind of dynamic this year.
Yeah, fraud is fraud in any industry, to include crypto. So with that, how does what happened at Silicon Valley Bank and FTX kind of change the way you see the FedReg policy discussions taking place? I mean, eerily similar on both ends of that conversation. So I'm just kind of curious if that changes your perspective on how you move forward with things from a.
So for us, FTX happened. We had always had strategic plans to roll out, core principles and to develop sort of the framework for self-regulation. I think from our side, what all of this has meant is that it has been hair on fire race to the finish line, meaning that there's just no normally, okay, so you would sequence some of these pieces. It would be sequential. It would start with dual awareness building campaigns to help gin up industry support, and then also educate regulators and legislators. You would work on standards and guidance next, after this piece is done. Then you would go towards education and certification as kind of a third pillar or piece that you need to generate and support. Then you're going to work on building internal firm capacity, right? And then you do all of the next steps around investigation, discipline, and enforcement. What everything has meant for us is not necessarily that we do anything different, right? What it has meant is that instead of being sequential, I've almost had to throw that 5 phases on its side and do a lot of things simultaneously, because just the deep necessity to move promptly, the importance of addressing from both a reactive but also proactive position means that everything has to be accelerated. So what you're seeing are actually like the core principles coming out at the same time that we're only just now starting to like wrap up some of the initial awareness building phases. We've already accelerated and come out and done 2 cohorts with our education and certification program. And then, so that I think has been the biggest piece. And what that has meant from a standpoint of, organizational growth is that many times I can, in some ways, I can empathize very heavily with people who are building organizations in this industry, because so am I. And it is exciting, but it is 24/7, all day, every day. And you are constantly having to build the plane as you're flying it, right? So I think that piece, managing extremely accelerated growth, managing, in a lot of, like, again, VUCA environment, I think that's the thing that how it's impacted us in specific.
Sorry, I heard a noise. How do you? No, sorry, my dryer's going off. No, I just moved into a new house. Full disclosure. How do you see all of this impacting the price of Bitcoin? I get that. A lot of people are always asking that about Bitcoin. That's what they seem to know.
Yeah. So I try not to do a ton of price predictions, just because I feel like it's like betting on the races. But I think
financial advice here, guys. Okay.
Not financial advice. Yeah. All right. So I think you're seeing a few things. One is that, again, Bitcoin was born out of the financial crisis, the bank bailouts. Okay. I think you're seeing a certain degree of like or recognition of similar patterns from the past, which have caused some of the, again, uptick, I think, in the price of Bitcoin, because again, its theory is being reinforced. Okay. So I think that's one reason why you're seeing Bitcoin rise at the moment. Okay. I think the other piece is you're seeing, again, this concept of a highly inflationary environment. So once again, I think both at the same time that you're seeing this sort of reinvigoration, recognition of the value of the original premise of Bitcoin, that kind of an uptick. And then the second uptick around the current economic situation that we see more broadly. So macroeconomic factors kind of contributing. While all of that is happening, I think the one constant that has remained, even though everything else has been kind of, we don't know what it is, commodity security, everybody's still pretty confident and in agreement that Bitcoin is a commodity. And so when there is, additional volatility, uncertainty around some of these other things, so it's almost like 3 reinforcers around Bitcoin, which I think personally is tipping the price up. So again, that original premise being reinforced, current macroeconomic factors, and then, this third piece, I think, which is the only one of the digital assets at this point where we know for sure it's a commodity. And so I think people, similar to how you would see like a flight to quality in some of the other traditional financial sectors when there's additional chaos, I think if you were to look at the digital asset space, It's almost doing a mimicry of that, meaning the flight to quality is a flight towards Bitcoin.
A run on gold, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So something you said earlier kind of caught my attention. Just kind of made me think, like, if you could speak to like the public sector versus private sector mentality when it comes to the regulatory framework that they're kind of setting up for this. I know, like me, I'm of the inclination to say, why you don't have the, the wherewithal or authority to tax this because it's not effectively regulated. And so really we're building all these guardrails to tax these assets, and it just, I don't know, I'm a libertarian at heart, I guess. I'm just curious if you see any like differences between the public and private sector with the employees and how they see things.
Yeah. So I think, let's, again, who typically gets the microphone? Okay. These are people who are on the extremes. Okay. So let's cut out some of the more, let's call them, if this is sort of the normal band of behavior, perspectives, opinions, the moderated middle, like some of the more extremist views. Okay. Either in the private sector or in the public sector. I actually think that that is very similar. I think most people would just like this to be resolved reasonably, would like to come to the table and understand how you can bring digital assets into the formal financial sector, whether that means some level of taxation, some level of regulation, something that's more balanced, because I think the majority of people, whether they are public or private sector, would like to see this contribute to those like overarching 4 impacts that we've talked about. I think there are a few like vitriolic characters on lots of sides that tend to take up, all the oxygen in the room, create a lot of divisions, and generally are not constructive towards a positive outcome for either the industry or the United States. So I think that that's like one piece of it. But I do very much believe, having talked to many legislators, regulators, and others, that there is still, even in these kind of uncertain times, a lot of interest and goodwill in trying to bring this forward. And so, again, my experience has always been really different, just based on the fact that like I didn't come from a lobbying background, or, my focus was always on building bridges, bringing people together, right? And I've done that in some really crazy environments around the world. So for me, I think my tolerance level for insanity is much higher than a regular person's. And I'm like, it's not that bad. Like someone was like, this is the worst. And I'm like, no, the worst was that one time that Putin disbanded all the SROs overnight. And that was bad. There were multiple of them, and literally overnight they became illegal. That's bad. This is not good. This could be better. It is not the worst. And, I think it's important to remind people of that, and that there are constructive ways to step out of this. It just requires work. And I think that's the piece that, again, both on the public sector as well as on the private sector, let's turn the temperature down, start to come to the table and think about, how are you going to broker a peace agreement? Because everybody knows that in the war, there's no winners. And so the reality is that we can go all out and fight against, regulators, against public sector, against agencies. And in the end, there will be nothing left of this industry. And so I think the reality is that there needs to be some level of collaborative diplomacy, communication, and cooperation in order to make sure that the good elements of this industry continue, stand up, are funded, can grow, can lead, and that is the face and narrative of this industry. And the rest of this goes to the side. I think that's going to be what's critically important to making sure that this moves forward appropriately.
Jeez.
All right. I think
My mind is...
Yeah, I know, and I'm
a little bit more than I was expecting on that. That was thorough.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to throw in, because it is the Warrior Hour, I'm going to throw in this part. And it was interesting because, like, again, sometimes we talk about these issue areas, and we were talking about the war in Ukraine. Okay. And somebody was like, well, the Ukrainians will win the war and this. And I go, I think you're missing the point. I'm like, to a certain degree, it's already a little bit over. You're looking at the fact that this, what was the intention? What was the overall end game that was the intention of the Russian government, of Putin? Was it to take over this, or was it to completely decimate a people, wipe out a culture, and to make this a country that would take decades upon decades to rebuild? And I was like, because I think what you're missing is that objective, that's already done. I was like, this other piece, how do you step out of this? How do you build constructively? You know, these are things that we need to start to think about, because the end game, when you go into some of these steps, is sometimes just as important as the initial urge, the initial steps that you take to wade into this. And if you don't have an end game and you don't know where you want to be at the end of this, this is where you get lost. And I think from my side, you know, recognizing that and understanding what our ultimate objective is, it should still be mainstreaming, constructive development of the industry, helping to usher in sort of this transformation of economic and financial sector. And so how do we get to that piece? And let's not lose sight of that with all of the mayhem and chaos that's here. And I think that's the piece that, like, when I look at, like, and again, drawing parallels, that's important. It's about, like, especially during this time, like capacity building, supporting people during this time, making sure that they make it through, so that that decimation is not the end game and that isn't achievable.
All of that is the exact same sentiment that we really kind of like take as a military force when you're looking at empowering partner nations. So you want to go in and build capacity and capability for them to do that stuff themselves. So it's no different. Socioeconomic impacts, dime fill or diplomacy, military. Man, all that stuff.
Hearts and minds, gentlemen.
Yeah.
You're challenging us to think.
Yeah,
For me,
no.
at least, I can't speak for these guys.
Making us look at things in a different angle. I wasn't expecting that. Thank you.
Hey, anytime. you want to jump on a call, have a glass of wine or beer or coffee, chat about.
I'm more of an old-fashioned.
I'm having a hard time keeping up with you, and I'm not drinking. If I have a couple glasses of wine, I'm going to be completely lost. You are a wealth of knowledge, Joe. And,
Yes.
seriously, I got quiet a couple of times because I'm trying to digest everything that you're saying, and it's a lot of really great stuff.
Yeah.
I think too.
And
like,
I'm right now thinking, you know.
All right,
trying to.
I'm gonna blow your mind one more time. What about this?
Oh boy.
Did it ever occur to, like, some of the people in the industry that, especially with some of the very erratic behavior, the overtness of some of the aggressive adversarial activity of the regulators, that perhaps this was baiting an industry that wasn't really ready to win into a war that it could never really succeed at? And I think I say that because let's take a look at it, and we'll look at it almost like military strategy, right? This is an industry that is young. Okay, it is an industry that the associations are still evolving, the ways in which the funding mechanisms, the orientation, the communications about this, the mobilization of communities, not yet established. So if I were on the flip side and I were trying to overrun a key industry, what is one of the easiest ways I could do that? Would be to bait you with, you know, very aggressive activities, very like fancy headlines, things that scare, shock, awe, so that now you're coming into this and I know that you don't have the resources to withstand a long war over a period of years. Okay. And if I'm going to cut off, just like I would your transport, your food, your resources, that's what's happening now. And so I think sometimes when we think about these things, it's important to think very, very strategically and to pull from a standpoint of, and again, I'm a weirdo who worked in a lot of emerging economies, who's had to see some of this in action on the ground. And I think that, you know, when you see how, you know, other industries in other countries have been eradicated, you start to realize, like, strategically, how an opponent views you, what your advantages or your strengths are, what your weaknesses have been. And I think that those are pieces that, like, again, look, I'm doing a lot of like emerging economy work with this industry from the standpoint of state level association building. Like I'm using things like I can cut down time for you. I can give you resources. I can have you watch what I do so you can replicate it for yourself, right? So I may not be able to be everywhere all at once, but if I have one person in each state with each association who knows how to get intelligence about what's happening down at their state legislature, mobilize a community, and I get you to be ready for that a month before you get, strange legislation dropped on you or these types of things. I'm preparing you because you're prepared, you're ready, and we say, "Arr," like a pirate, right? You're aware, you're restrained, but you're ready, okay? And I think those are things that especially when you deal like in difficult climates, like those are some of the things that we help people understand so that they know how to address the issue professionally, constructively, so that it has a positive outcome for their state in terms of jobs, consumer protection, market integrity, and then ultimately technological leadership.
I'm taking another second to digest it all. I'm just so you know. And I can see, yep, I can see it.
I'm glad these are recorded.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
You're gonna
really.
sit back. You guys, we should all do the geopolitical war games things. I used to do it with we do it at Northwestern University. It's awesome. We have a great time. Nobody likes me though, because my answer is always diplomacy. Everyone's like, we will do this. And I'm like, nope, keep open the channel. Yeah. They're like, who brought this horrible girl into this?
Who brought this? Just press a button.
There's a lot I could learn.
Yeah. But Gabby, no, we're coming close on time, which I hate. We should have had you here earlier, but I would love to have you on again in the near future. But before we go, any parting shout outs or any closing remarks for our warriors, for the millions watching now, but the billions who'll be watching later?
All right. Well, number one, it is a R, okay? Yeah, I know. I always have all these gimmicky things. People love it. They're like, oh God, that's so cheesy. Number one, I think it's a difficult time to be a builder, a founder, a business owner, okay? And it is always the case that when it's a difficult climate like this, it is the small and medium businesses, the ones who have been trying to do things right the whole time, who are invested, who bring jobs to their state, that get hit the hardest. And I think that, my sort of message is to just keep going. I think it is easy to be overwhelmed right now. It is easy to be distracted by the headlines. It is easy to be afraid.
Yeah.
It takes another level of, I think, focus to realize that, as hard as it is not the worst. You will get through this. And I think that there are lots of resources, lots of communities like this one to help. And, it's one of these difficult times that I think sometimes cultivates some of the most beautiful and innovative outcomes for an industry, for a country, and for an economy. So I remain hopeful. I look forward to seeing you all in hopefully not another year. Let's say we'll try to do this. I was going to say another year, and then I was like, oh, that sounds sad. We'll do it again soon. Yeah. And in the meantime, just keep fighting the good fight.
Absolutely. I thought it was going to be your second bullet was like, don't wait so long to have me back.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Also, don't wait so long to have me back.
There we go.
No. We thoroughly always appreciate when you set time aside to come chat with us. Our audience will be drinking from a fire hose just like we will. We are.
Oh, God,
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Have
you
a good
so
one.
much. Have a good night.
Enjoy the rest of your
So
evening.
much.
Thank you.
Good night now.
All right.
Forge greatness, this is what you need. Next level marketplace with the NFT. Music, podcasts, movies, and more. Crypto games, take it to the next level for sure. Or system, or system. If you buy the NFT, this is what you're missing. Or system, or system. If you buy the NFT, this is what you're missing. To my movie makers and musicians, time to level up. Bring your content, even all my game developers. We got movie streaming, music streaming, so you wanna be in the mix. This ain't no big production company. Over 25,000 or users, yes indeed. Only charging 2.3% sales fee. Own all your music, all your games, own your future. Set your own terms. This is how you do it. You need or system, or system. If you buy the NFT, this is what you're missing. Or system, or system. If you buy the NFT, this is what you're missing. Let's go. Forge greatness. Woo.
As game developers, OR System wanted to integrate NFT and crypto for large-scale, next-generation gaming. The OR System is a next-generation blockchain community that creates value for content creators, collectors, and studios. OR System makes blockchain simple and accessible to all players, creating a complete gaming ecosystem. Load and integrate NFT into your game to allow players to earn, collect, and take them from one game to another. Learn more at orsystem.com. OR Systems, forging the future and changing the game.
What a
And
great
we're
American.
back.
That
What
was
a
awesome.
Great American.
I am going to be digesting. Yeah, I like the way you. I forgot how you just said it, Armando. Just now,
I said
we had
something.
to pause for a minute just to take in everything she was saying. A lot
Oh
of really
yeah, I
cool
just
stuff we
could.
learned, yeah.
I love and hate when we have really brilliant people on because then I'm like, man, I can't like doze off. I got to pay attention. I got to be on my A game. It's like having that really smart professor that just
Yeah.
knows what the students are really doing.
Yep.
That's Gabby.
And
But
I'll
anyway.
be like laying in my bed at like 10 o'clock, and like half of what she said is still like unpacking. I'm like, I
Yeah.
wonder what she meant by this, because
Yeah.
turn it back. My wife would be like, "Shut up."
I wasn't even
bed.
thinking about that.
You know, my wife would tell me, she would ask, who's Gabby? Who is that? Like, oh, God. One of our guests. Yeah,
One of our guests.
I'm just kidding. No, that was really a lot of really, really great content.
Great
God, I wish I
guest.
could organize my thoughts like she does, man. Gabby's quick on the draw, you
Yeah.
know.
I think I froze.
No, you're there. You're
No,
there.
yeah, still see you.
But yeah, no, but hey, we are a little over. The union's knocking on our door. We're at
What,
9:04.
Armando? Wait, okay, I get it. Union, our time. We're union. We're on the clock. No overtime. What's the key word tonight? What's the key word for tonight's show? Come on, key phrase. Indie Indiegogo.
Indigo.
Oh, I was like,
Indiegogo.
diplomacy.
That used to be
Indiegogo.
something that was like the back of my hand, and when I was in the army, man, and it just totally slipped my mind. Good thing Sean was there to rub it in.
There you go.
Oh boy. The new game looks incredible with them. Excited.
It does.
Got some cool stuff coming. Jimmy and I got some music to work on for the game.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it'll make it in somewhere.
Cool. Can't wait to hear that. Jimmy, can't wait to have you back because this is we're gonna need to. I had to loop some things because we had a little conversation with Gabby in the green room while we were at a couple of commercials that reran itself. But to the warriors out there, thank you. Really appreciate you who have stuck with us. Like I said in the beginning, who have stuck with us through this episode. You know, the millions, billions, and trillions that will be with us until We're old and gray because I'm trying to get a couple grays here
I'm
and
gray
there.
already. Man. I got that going.
So, but yes, really appreciate you guys. Lucas, Eric, thank you. Warriors, Sean, wherever you're at. Nick, thank you. Who am I
Jimmy,
forgetting?
wherever
Jimmy.
you're at. Jimmy,
Jeez.
All
Oh,
right.
you know who I can't forget? Who is an Eagles pass. Not Colin, the other guy. You forget his name already? I'm waiting for someone's gonna shout his name.
Mr. Havel?
Yes.
Jonah? Oh, yeah.
Jonah. I was waiting for you mean Jonah? Yes.
You call him Jonah. We call him JH. You know, the guys that are
Okay.
close.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
All right.
Jonah, we miss you, pal.
We miss you. Guys, thank you so much. We will see you
Thank
next
you.
week on episode 67. Ooh, so close to my number.
Ooh.
Oh, so close. All right. Thank you guys. Peace.
Later.
But I need my hand because I got to turn off the show.
Oh, well.
Thank you guys.
Bye.